Happy New Year from the Crypto Nightly News. In this episode, we'll hear thoughts on where the world of crypto and NFTs are heading in 2023, with interviews with the founder of Cheeze with a Z, Simon Hudson. And we'll hear from prognosticator of DeFi and all-around crypto expert, Mark Basa, to discover why you should be positive about the future of crypto in the new year. We'll have those interviews and a look back at the year 2022 with a hopeful eye to 2023. That's coming up on this special New Year's Eve edition of the Crypto Nightly News.
We all know that crypto is the term future of the digital asset compared to last year's survey.
Welcome to the Crypto Nightly News with Chris Journey. Welcome to the Crypto Nightly News New Year's Eve special. We have just a few more hours until the clock strikes 12 and we put 2022 in our rearview mirror. It was a tough year for so many in crypto, what with Three Arrows Capital kicking off a crushing crypto winter that was punctuated by a meteoric fraudulent collapse at the end of the year in FTX at the hands of Sam Bankman-Fried. October saw the worst rate of thievery in the crypto space ever, and a year in which both Bitcoin and ETH posted record losses for the 365-day look back, despite promises that the immaculate merge would turn Ethereum into the darling child of the environmental critics who say that crypto is the big bad energy hog of the future. There wasn't a lot to be positive about the crypto land, and even heavy hitters in the NFT space like Mutant Ape, Other Deed, and So Rare all saw moments of glory this year, but by and large fell flat for investors in the long run. We heard stories about how celebs ran afoul of the feds while hawking their NFTs online, and how in many cases endorsements from celebrities resulted in negative results for the brands they endorsed. In world news from crypto, we saw a new regulatory authority come on the scene at the start of the summer in the EU with the passage of the new MiCA regulations. And places like El Salvador saw economic collapse after making Bitcoin its national currency. Russia went rogue when they took on the role as the new bad boy of world domination when its markets collapsed in response to its Ukrainian aggression. Russian oligarchs transferred their rubles over to crypto in an effort to keep their world afloat, despite the seizure of several Russian luxury yachts and properties around the world. And that caused fear and mayhem in financial markets that led to this very night when crypto, in many views, is circling the toilet drain on its way down into oblivion. But I am not here to ring in the new year on a somber note, and this is not financial advice at all. No, instead, let us look up to the future in the year ahead when ETH and Bitcoin reach triple-digit growth, and the world accepts crypto as a means of utility and commerce, where moms can feed their kids with the power of the digital dollar, and people from around the world see prosperity and success using a means of banking that for the first time in human history is available to every citizen of the world, regardless of geography or economic status. Now, I say the future for crypto is bright, and I ask you to join me in toasting in a new year with hope for prosperity and economic growth for all corners of the rapidly shrinking world. To our friends in Asia and our brothers and sisters in South America, to the crypto kings in the Middle East and the decentralized doers of crypto business in Europe, and even here in the crypto-cautious United States of America, I say this is the first night of the year that will see a year of amazing growth of world income through the miracle that is decentralized finance. And it all starts with you buying a few bucks worth of Bitcoin in the weeks ahead. But don't take my word for it. First up, we sit down with Simon Hudson of Cheeze to talk about why you should get your hands dirty in the NFT world using your cell phone camera and the power of the blockchain to make money from your photography without costing you a dime. And not to gild the lily too much, but we follow that conversation up with a chat I had about the future of crypto and why 2023 is the year that will be the year that crypto takes its place as the great equalizer on the world economic stage with Mark Basa. And so, without further ado, let us do what we do best by giving you a chance to hear the words and thoughts of some of the most in tune and crypto savvy experts in the world on this, the most auspicious of nights, when the world is renewed by the strike of the clock and another march around the sun has begun. Happy New Year, one and all, and it's time to get this party started, don't you think? Let's get it. Hey there, folks. We have he's the nicest guy ever. I messed up the first interview I did with him when we were preparing for this special, but we did it and we came together and he got back to me. And before the new year rang out, we managed to get this interview in. And it's an exciting interview because, quite frankly, we're talking NFTs. Now, we talk about NFTs all the time. You know all about those monkeys that are out there and all those different things. But this gentleman has got a way to make you into an NFT expert, and it's not going to cost you a dime. And the reason it is so exciting is because it's using photography. That's why they say cheese. So without further ado, please let me introduce Simon Hudson of Cheeze. And Simon, tell us about how people can get into the NFT world.
Firstly, thank you for having me, and no worries about the second time. The first time is always a test. So yeah, it's good to be back. Thank you for having me. So my name's Simon. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Cheeze. We're aiming at helping photographers bring their images on chain. And the idea of using the blockchain is that we can actually track and trace all of the metadata, the journey of a photo, and hopefully unlock a wider creator economy of being able to bring photos on chain, and the photographers get rewarded for their work. There's a big problem at the moment.
Let's break this down a little bit real quick, because we talked about this last time and I got so fascinated by this because I have a bunch of photography that I would like to share with the world, and I've just never really done anything with it. It just sits in my little Google folder and I don't do anything with it and whatnot. But you have a way of extracting the metadata, which gives it special value, and then marketing that to a company or to an entity that might want to use that photography and help create these nexuses between peoples and companies so that they can make money with NFTs. And you don't have to be a master photographer, you don't have to be a major trader or anything like that, but it's a way to dip your toes into the NFT world, and it doesn't cost them a dime, right?
Correct, yeah. And I think that the way to look at it is that if you ask anybody how many photos they have on their camera roll, it will be in the tens of thousands. If you look at the numbers, only 2% of the people who are creating photos actually make any money from that. And what we find is that cameras are improving, phones are improving, and people like yourself or like myself might take a really beautiful photo of New York or London or Dubai or wherever you might be based. But now there's an opportunity utilizing a platform like Cheeze to be able to monetize that information and monetize those photos, because up until the blockchain existed, you could easily screenshot a photo, you could send it, you could duplicate it. And I'm not saying you can't do that now, but the blockchain really does allow some form of transparency, and the licensing aspect too is a lot easier just by licensing it on the blockchain rather than all the forms you have to fill out.
Well, you were telling me last time about what the process used to be, where somebody would, like Yahoo would find a photo and they'd say, "Oh, I want that photo." So they had to fill out a bunch of paperwork, and it was a bunch of back and forths and all this stuff, and it just was a really onerous process. But you guys have revolutionized the idea of sharing your works with the corporate world and getting people a payday. And it's the new year. Everybody's going to be looking for, I'm hoping, a new way to embrace the crypto world and to embrace new ways to make money. So tell me about how did you come up with this idea of using just common photography and putting these things together so that, you know, average people can use it and make NFTs?
So the way that we kind of started was to really understand the evolution of the photography. Now, back in 92, 93, the JPEG was born. And JPEG stands for Joint Photography Expert Group. And it was a group of companies that came together to try and find a way to take the offline, very manual reproduction of photography and make it digital. So JPEG was born. Now, 20 years later, we are in a position where we have got the image, more like 30 years later, we've got the images now that we send across iMessage, WhatsApp, chat message that's just a photo. So the .jpeg has dropped. .nft really as an extension is the reduction of steps and the transfer of ownership. So without using blockchain and without using NFTs, the steps needed to license a photo are quite cumbersome. There's quite a lot of steps to go through. So that, like I said last time, if a brand wants to license a photo from you from Instagram, they have to DM you, you have to send a form, you have to prove you have the photography rights, you then have to remove it from Instagram, email them the high resolution photo for them then to use that photo. You can't track and see how many times that photo has been used or where it's being used. But now using Cheeze and the blockchain, the brand or whoever wants to take that photo simply clicks a button, licenses it, and everything is transparent on chain. And because you're the original photographer, you get lifetime royalties of however many times that photo has been sold on after the use of the brand.
Well, and that's what's also so fascinating about this, is that it all happens automatically on the blockchain, so that there's none of this I have to research it and I have to prove it and I have to do all this different steps and whatnot. But also one of the cool things about that, I think, is that it gives average everyday people a chance to make money with NFT.
Right.
And it's just that, and that's what this episode's really about, is that it's how people can engage into the cryptoverse in new and different ways. And that's why this is so revolutionary. Talk to me a little bit about why it doesn't cost them anything. How is it, we know about gas fees. Everybody's a little bit afraid of doing NFTs on OpenSea because they charge those gas fees, but you guys have managed a way around that. How did you do that?
Yes, it's a great question. And it really comes back to the understanding of how the blockchain works and looking back at the original creators of the blockchain world. If you look at how it started with Bitcoin and then it evolved to Ethereum, on Ethereum there are a number of OG projects such as CryptoKitties. The guys that created the CryptoKitties are a company called Dapper Labs. Dapper Labs saw there was a problem with Ethereum and ended up creating the Flow blockchain. So when we started Cheeze, we were observing the blockchains and looking to see what was out there, and we came across Dapper Labs and Flow. We ended up speaking to Dapper, they ended up investing in our company, and we are now built on the Flow blockchain where there are 0 gas fees. So it's built in a way that you as a user can utilize blockchain technology, but you don't have to pay the extortionate gas fees because of the way that the chain has been structured. And that's really credit to Flow for being able to build such a solid blockchain.
And we know about Dapper Labs because they did the NBA Top Shot, and they've also worked with the NFL, and they've done a number of different big projects with the Major League Pro Sports. So you guys that's a pretty reputable company to do with NFTs. So that's pretty damn cool, don't you think?
Yeah, and I think that what we've tried to do as Cheeze is really focus heavily on a brand and a structure of team, because the NFT world is very uncertain. You'll probably hear a lot of rug pulls and scams going on, and it's very difficult when you're entering a new space to really break through with a credible brand. So in addition to being invested with by Dapper Labs, we've also added the Netflix co-founder Mark Randolph to our board. We have the author and famous Apple fellow Guy Kawasaki on our board, and we've just added the ex-CMO of Nike, Greg Hoffman, to our advisory board. So with this team of people and the people who we're working with, we're able to really understand and try and see how there are synergies from this new wave of tech that have happened over the years. Because if you look back as the internet evolved and the mobile app evolved, Web 1, Web 2, and now we're in this what's called Web 3, we've got that great knowledge bank to just really apply it to new tech. And it's exciting. It's a really exciting time. Still very early. We're still learning a lot every day. But I think that everybody with a phone is a photographer, and our goal is to really help them unlock the new creator economy and earn some revenue from the snaps that they take.
Well, by the time people see this interview, the new year will have just been newly minted, and there's you talk about how Nike's gotten involved with you guys, or at least the CEO of Nike, the CEO of Netflix. Is this their way of starting to really invest in the crypto space? Do you think is that a bellwether for what this year is going to be like in terms of how the growth of mainstream commerce getting involved and bringing crypto into their space?
Yes, just to correct you, it's the co-founder of Netflix, Mark Randolph. So he's no longer in the business, but he's the person that created the company. And
the ideas behind the idea man, yeah.
Yeah, and then Greg Hoffman was the ex-CMO who was there for 30 years. So they're no longer at the companies, but they've got the knowledge and the understanding that they can see the potential in what this technology is and the fact that this is a space that is only going to improve and get better. The early stages of any product, if you think of the Instagram 2010 version compared to the 2022 version, or if you think of the first version of Google compared to what we have now, the tech evolves and the people's adoption evolves. And I think that everybody around us can see that the brand itself is extremely strong. 80% of the world say cheese before a photo is taken. We focus very heavily on all the IP, and I think that, you know, the package as a whole really does help people understand that if they do take photos, then they can make money. And we've just got to educate people as to how it works and hopefully build the best simple product that we can.
Well, is this for boiling it down for simplicity, is this the Snapfish of Web 3.0? Is this the Google Photos of Web 3.0? Do you think you're really going to move into that space and really universalize the way people make NFTs? Can you do that with this business today?
I mean, the goal really is just to become the number one name that everybody thinks of when they want to add their photos on chain. What on chain looks like, how people adopt and understand blockchain is going to be down to the adoption rate and what people see it as. But I think that with regards to the opportunities and the people we've spoken to, we've spoken to all the major brands, Getty Images, all of the stock imagery companies, and I've really seen that this is a bit of a fresh start for all companies because it's such a new wave of technology. And I think that we focused on the social elements of applications like Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter as to how the people use those, and are applying the technologies of NFT and Web3 to dovetail it together to really hopefully bring people to the chain and turn their photos into generating revenue.
Well, Simon Hudson, founder of Cheeze, this is just, I think, one of the coolest things that's coming out in 2023. I do hope you have a beautiful new year ahead. And any parting thoughts for what people should do with NFTs in the year of 2023 and where we're going to go with all this?
Yeah, and likewise too, I'm excited for the next year ahead and wish you a nice year ahead. Really, for me, I think anybody that's looking at getting into NFTs is just reach out to people, join Twitter Spaces, join communities, try and find wise, experienced people that can give you some knowledge, learn, research, and understand what you're wanting to do. The beautiful thing is that it's so early that you stand as much chance as myself or as anybody else who's building products in this space. No one is an expert because it's only been around for a very short period of time. And if you want to find out more about Cheeze, just visit cheeze.com. That's CHEEZE.com. We're at Cheeze on all social handles, and I'm at Hudson on Twitter if anybody wants to drop me a DM.
Well, I'm going to stick all that stuff in the description of this description of the show. I want to thank you so much. Have a beautiful, prosperous, and outstanding New Year, sir. And thank you so much for coming back a second time and letting me get this right the second time.
Awesome. Enjoy 2023, and thanks again for having me. Appreciate it.
Indeed. Happy New Year, and stick around, folks, because we're going to come back and we're going to do a takeaway and wrap this whole year episode up and really kind of put a point on this thing at the takeaway. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this message. Welcome to the Crypto Nightly News. We're a news magazine show featuring all the happenings in the world of crypto, with news, market updates, and feature stories designed to inspire you to join the crypto revolution. We go out each week on glacierfm.com and Glacier Underground at 9 p.m. on Sundays and stream 24/7 on all the Glacier FM web pages, podcasting platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcast, and we have a video feed we share on YouTube. Join us each week as we delve into the world that is this blood sport we call crypto, and share with you the best crypto newscast in the world. That's 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Sundays at Glacier FM and on YouTube. Tune into the Crypto Nightly News on Glacier FM Radio. So what did you think of that? Can you believe it? You have a gold mine of photos just sitting in the palm of your hand that for the first time you'd be monetized as NFTs, and it won't cost you a thing. In this new year, we all can get into this new economy, and I urge you to smile and say cheese, because that's the way millions of people are going to get into crypto this year, thanks to Simon Hudson and his photo service. Now it's time to take stock in what we have learned so far in crypto, and who better to give us the insight we need into the future of crypto than a man who was there at the start of it all and is an evangelist for the crypto adoption revolution. Please let me introduce you to Mark Basa, CEO of Hawk Finance, and a conversation that we had at the closing of the year about where crypto is going. Hey folks, we have a really cool interview today because I love to talk about the future of crypto, and this guy does as well. He is a crypto expert. He got into crypto really early in the game, and he knows all about how to build businesses and how to make businesses successful in the crypto space. But he also likes to talk about what the future is going to look like in the crypto sphere. And I think it's just such a cool idea. This is what we did with this show all last season, and I want to do it again this season, talk about ideas behind crypto and how we are going to make this world a better place thanks to the revolution that's taking place in DeFi. Now, without further ado, please let me introduce you to Mark Basa from, where are you coming from, Mark? You're someplace on the other side of the planet, right?
I am. So I'm Australian, but I live in Denmark, in Copenhagen. I've been here 5 years in the miserable cold weather. Far away from my very, very warm hometown.
Well, I hope you're enjoying this holiday season that just passed and that your new year's off to a good shot. This is one of our first interviews we've done for the Crypto Nightly News in this brand new season, and we're talking ideas of crypto. We had a rough end of the year. Crypto was way down. I expect by the time we're filming this in advance, but I expect by the time the ball drops, we're going to have a lot of Alka-Seltzer moments in the crypto space. So tell me, what's so positive about crypto, and why should people be building businesses in the new year with crypto?
Fantastic question. I think because this is really something that has been blasted out in the media. Most of it is quite negative, and I always like to look at this kind of standpoint is what does the industry say about crypto? The internet used to get crapped on for a very long time. People thought it was never going to be anything. The world's biggest companies thought the internet was going to be a fad. What you're looking at right now is the underlying technology of the future of commerce, the future of everything that we're going to do when we interact with the internet is probably going to be somewhere or another on blockchain. So people think about cryptocurrencies, right? Exchanging your US dollar for, say, Ether, the token on Ethereum. It's not just about that. It's going to be about decentralization, or the decentralization of centralized authorities or centralized services. So that might be your unique ID to log in to a certain website that you want to use that protects your privacy, your data. It could be a way to monetize your data, just like Google or Facebook monetizes your data. This can all be done on blockchain technology. So when building into the future and building from next year, if that's what you want to do, take a look at how can you use blockchain technology in your existing business. Not everything has to have a token or a coin behind it. Not everything has to be blockchain. But blockchain has so many elements to it that I think that a lot of businesses are missing the big picture here. And I've spoken with a lot of pretty massive companies, some pretty global names who are kind of looking into crypto, looking into blockchain, but for them it's kind of like R&D, like, yeah, maybe we'll do it, maybe we won't. We'll put a little bit of money here, but we won't take it seriously. And these big companies are going to be pretty much defeated, I think, in the next 10 years by some very, very small groups of devs that might be building right now in their basement, or maybe they're at Starbucks with a hoodie on. And these are the guys that are actually building the future of technology that'll probably be competing with some of the world's biggest organizations very soon and basically, taking their business.
Well, give me your perspective on how Web3 technology is going to differ from Web 2.0. Why is it that, the internet is going to be changed? What is this blockchain thing that they're talking about right now? We've got some basic people that we're trying to introduce them to crypto here in the States, and we need to break it down a little bit for them, I think. And tell me your perspective on all that.
So I think it's like this. So my perspective really about, like, if you're a novice to this and what you want to do in this industry, or what you want to really learn and understand. So take, for example, the way that we interact today through a website. Maybe I use my Gmail login, right, to sign into a website. And that's really Google's service. And Google gives that to me for free because I give them my data. That's really what it's about. Now, when you have something like a decentralized blockchain, that basically means a piece of software that's you could say hosted by people all around the world node providers that secure the network. So it's like if I was to attack a cyber attack on Google, that's a centralized business, a centralized authority, and that's where everything is stored. It's very hard to attack Google, but as an example. So with something like blockchain technology, you have to attack many sources. So it's decentralized and you're relying on thousands of people to actually support that network. So an attack to bring that whole thing down is quite difficult. And that's how the blockchain really works. So now take that and think to yourself, well, if I'm going to use a Google service I have to give my data away for free. Well, blockchains really don't ask for your data, your ID, your age, your sex, your date of birth, all these things, so you can use their products. They really say, here's a wallet, right? And your web wallet is basically an extension on your browser, just like many extensions that you would have on Chrome. And through that wallet, you can interact with our services. And that's all you need to do. You only need to interact with our services, and maybe the currency that you're paying in is the token or the coin that the service that you're using. So for example, if I use Google now, of course I'm paying with my privacy and my data. But if I use something else, maybe I've just got to pay, a few bucks, for example, to use that service. And that's actually a pretty good giveaway if you want to use a service and maybe play a video game or have a shopping experience by keeping all my data, maybe paying to use the service in that sense.
Well, tell me this. I mean, if I wanted to get my business into this was one of my big challenges when I did the Christmas special, as I was trying to find people that would accept crypto so that people could pay for presents with crypto. Because quite frankly, ETH was down, and there was a way that, you could buy something for a half an ETH, and you're going to save a ton of money if you bought it now versus if you waited to the new year and bought with a half an ETH. Because I think in this new year, ETH is going to go up, and it's going to be $3,000 sometime this year. And you're going to be three times as expensive. So buying Christmas with ETH made a lot of sense to me. But there just wasn't any businesses doing that. So how do we get businesses to really start playing in commerce with crypto?
So that's a great question. I think that comes down to what's known as stable coins, right? So your ETH goes up and down. It's more or less controlled by the market sentiment at the current time. So if things are going bad, people are going to dump their tokens in exchange for, let's say, US dollar, so they can cash out, just like stocks and bonds and everything else. Whereas stable coins, that's a different mechanism. Normally, and the trusted stable coins are a one-to-one backed token. So for example, for every $1 that you receive, they've got $1 in the bank. So you couldn't really do a bank run in that sense. So that's the kind of easiest and I think safest method if you're a new business and you want to accept crypto. You can still accept US dollars. You're just accepting it now in a form of cryptocurrency. And when you want to cash out with those US dollars, you can still send those via the blockchain to a centralized exchange and then to your bank. So that's for a business that's kind of worried about the volatility of the market. Look at stable coins. I think USDC is probably the most trusted one. Depending on how you look at long-term trust and privacy, there are groups behind it that maybe, you might think, okay, these are centralized authorities that are creating cryptocurrencies, which may be the kind of, the antithesis of what crypto stands for in terms of decentralization. But if you're a business and you want to get going, this is probably the best and safest way to get involved.
Okay, well, then tell me this. What is your thinking on the future for crypto? Where are we going to go this year? Is this going to be the year where digital currencies take off and we really start getting some kind of standardization? We had a lot of talk of regulation, and came off of an October where it was the worst thievery ever took place in the crypto space. And now we're in the new year, and it's like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen now? Do we really start putting our shoulders into crypto?
So it's like this. I think a lot of people want to make money in crypto speculatively because they think it's going to be the future. Absolutely. So if you're a long-term, buying anything now for the next 10 years is kind of like the best bet. As long as you're kind of diversifying your portfolio and doing all the same, investment things, not overspending, don't spend what you can't risk. But I would say that in terms of what's going to happen to the industry, so there are certain patterns that I've seen. So when I first heard about Bitcoin, 2010, 2011, I'm a kid. I make my first crypto project, and I'm pitching it and I'm selling it to, big investors. And back then, it was the idea of the market that really struck me, which was like, what is decentralized money? Mm-hmm. I was sitting in a room of probably a collective net worth of billions of dollars, and the ideas then were, well, can this Bitcoin thing be hacked? And no one really understood the importance of decentralized money. What has changed about Bitcoin? It's still the same. It hasn't changed. The market ideas have changed. So now the market ideas over a decade later have massively changed. You had the ICO craze of 2017, right? All these pump and dumps. You have meme season just a couple of years ago, where it was like fun, branded, community-focused projects that could try to attempt to build utility. But what you saw with meme season was the branding was that people wanted to have fun with their currencies. And that was a really big part of it. Now, what has pushed all this out is this: the next 5-10 years, maximizing utility and maximizing brand. So all the crappy projects that are out there right now that really don't have much utility or poor branding, they're out. Unless they get discovered by somebody, right, that says this blockchain is really, really good.
Right.
But the next 5-10 years, what I would look at in terms of investing or using something, it's really going to be about what's going to be the gold standard, what is going to be liquid on the internet. But more importantly, how do these brands speak to the retail investor? And I speak to some of these blockchains and some of these projects that have raised, some I know that have raised probably hundreds of millions of dollars, and their token is literally crashing every day, going down. And the one thing they're missing out on is they're not talking to the community. They're not talking to the community on Twitter, on Telegram. They have no community moderators. So they're not facilitating their earliest evangelists and their earliest investors. No matter how good your tech is, if you don't get your first evangelists pumping your coin and repping you like an army, forget it. Because the first time that I see your coin or token, I'm going to check out your community. If it's no good and the sentiment's bad, then the ideas are bad, the vision, the mission is bad. So I would be looking as an investor or anyone with a business, what is the community saying about the project that you're looking to invest in or use? That is going to be more important in the next 5 and 10 years than anything else, I think.
Now, is that just in the tech space, or can you translate that into, say, a hardware store wants to start taking USDC and fiat and do it that way, so you can walk in and pay with your wallet in Home Depot or something like that?
Yeah.
What if it's a vet's office and you need to pay for your cat's shots with USDC? This is just the basic commerce that needs, I think, to happen in order for crypto to really be taken legitimately in hometown USA and the world. So what about those people? How do they look at this, getting into this space here? And they're not investing. They're not gonna get a lot of money out of this. But what do you say to them?
I would say that you can always ask your kind of mom and pop store or the hardware store, anybody, are you accepting these currencies? Because today, many of the payment gateways that are used for commerce, for e-commerce, they accept crypto. I mean, many of them can implement it. I'm actually now the managing director of the crypto division at a PR and communications agency called XWeCan, and I'm building crypto companies for people. And one of the things we have this client that has a payment gateway, and basically behind it is like this whole set of tools. If basically competing with Shopify, except they enable digital entrepreneurs to sell their subscriptions. So if I want to sell a subscription to something or a piece of code or something, I can actually accept crypto. Now that's really, really cool. So that same system, I'm sure, can be implemented in the bricks and mortar space, where you're going to go to a store and be able to pay with crypto. A huge drop-down list is going to appear and say, okay, well, I want to buy these things. So for the kind of more rural areas or areas that are not in the big city, where you want to use general brick and mortar type stores, like you said, if it's a building store or a gym or something, payment gateways will start including cryptocurrencies as the technology and as the market grows for demand. Right now, the market understanding is still so early. So if you want to pay with crypto, it's still very early, where these big companies, they won't make the investment so early on and say, we want to target these parts of the states to accept crypto, because it's probably less than 1%. They want to go after the big cities and they want to go after the e-commerce. So you have to wait for one, or you can use the current ones in the system that are available today.
Well, I was just up in, I live in Washington State right now, and I was just up in Quinault Lake, and it's one of those rural places you're talking about, and everybody up there charges 60 cents for using a charge card. And it irritates the hell out of me when I have to do that, because you're automatically telling me you just don't value my business the same way you value cash business by putting that fee on there. It's not like they're getting charged that, but that's that middleman thing that they do when they have to pay their payment gateway. Is that going to be changed when people start taking crypto? Is that something that we can hope for, that they can stop having to pay all these fees to process and having to do all this stuff with what they do with traditional credit cards?
Yeah, so yes and no. It depends on a couple of things. It depends on the blockchain that you're going to use. So there are blockchains that basically work by the more transactions or the more load on the network, they charge you a fee, basically to get in line and process it. Other blockchains can process, extremely fast transactions and millions of them per second, and you'll get charged, less than a cent. So these are the kinds of things that are happening in crypto technology today, which is basically talking about how do we bring the world's transactions over to blockchain? Because that doesn't happen today. I think it's less than 1% of all transactions are on blockchain, which means if you want to remove the middleman, yes, it does start with, I guess, your privacy and your currency, but then comes other problems, which is like network load time and other fees. But that will eventually be solved in the future. I'm confident that you'll have chains out there, and there are chains out there that you can send between peer-to-peer money, basically, and you're not going to be charged that much at all.
Well, then how did somebody get in touch with you? How do can you help the mom and pops that are going to watch this podcast? Can you help them get involved in this?
I think I can. So most people reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn. My name, Mark Basa. You'll be able to find me, that's for sure. But if they want some advice and to reach out, I can always. My message box is always open to guide people to find and discover this themselves. I'm on a journey of discovering this myself, and I think it's really important that you meet and greet the right people who can point you in the direction, because crypto is a lot about self-discovery. Downloading a MetaMask, right? Your web wallet, buying some tokens, losing money on some tokens. Some of the guys that I know who have done really well in crypto love and boast about how much they've lost on crypto, but also what they've gained, and they've gained a lot of knowledge. So it's all about this whole game of really understanding and learning by doing.
Well, and then the last question I have then is the pace of all this stuff. This is happening, I think, in terms of real finance. Old finance is glacial. This is moving at a nanosecond pace right now because it's growing so fast. And I honestly think that, our New Year's episode in 2024 is going to be completely different discussions than we're having in our New Year's episode in 2023. How do you assuage somebody's concern about the pace of this, and how do you get them up to speed if they want to get involved in this stuff?
Well, it's like this. It's moving fast, but it would be moving 100 times faster if you didn't have centralized authorities or people that were going to be, you could say, controlling and manipulating the market so crypto stops. So I just received an email today for a client, and they're using a centralized service. That centralized service is now telling them, if you're going to host anything on our servers to do with crypto, you're banned. So
Really?
even though this nation is quite forward in terms of what you can do as a crypto entrepreneur, if you will, or investor, in terms of their policies or their company's policies, or what they allow, they're really saying no to it. So you actually, it might seem fast, but you're still very, very early, and things are moving extremely slow as opposed to what they would be moving like if these things were allowed and regulated, if central authorities weren't at play, and of course, if the people in charge just let things happen. There's a lot of money at stake here. There's, of course, protecting the retail investor is very, very important, but there's a lot of money at stake here. So if blockchain takes over, think about every centralized authority in the world. Think about the Federal Reserve or the World Bank or any centralized authority. This is going to be one of those things where the power is going to be won, but there has to be some market destruction beforehand. It absolutely has to happen. Every dollar taken from the bank and put into blockchain means the world is changing. It means that now there's one less dollar in the world's centralized bank. Scary thought. What's going to happen to the world's centralized banks? Are they going to say, okay, now America, you have 25-30% inflation? Can't happen like that. There has to be some sort of rapid shift, a collapse, and a rebuild. So if you think today with centralized services or decentralized services, what did you used to do in the past that you can now do for free or now do without any centralized authority? So I think that you are coming in at the right time. Follow and just know that for the next 10 years, it's going to be a pretty bumpy ride. but it's going to go up before we go down.
Well, that's what we're hoping anyway, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Mark Basa, thank you so much. I hope much you have a beautiful new year, and maybe we can get you back here in 2024 and you can tell us how 2024 is going to look at this, because this would be a great tradition to get started if we can make that happen. Thank you so much, sir. I'm going to stick your LinkedIn profile onto the description of this page so that people can find you there. And any final thoughts on what your 2023 is going to look like?
2023 for crypto as a whole, I think you're going to see more regulators, more regulation, more crashes, and I think that the best crypto brands will survive because they're going to be transparent and authentic. All the pump and dumps, all the VCs that got in early that are dumping, all that sort of stuff that's happening right now is getting scrutinized, and projects that just keep building and loving and nurturing their community of early evangelists, they're going to win.
Let the bells ring out for Christmas at the closing of the year. Let the bells ring.
At the end of every episode, I like to do what I call the takeaway. It's kind of a wrap up of ideas, and it's my little take on how I think we should view this whole thing. I may be right or I may be wrong, but ultimately it is my hope that this gets you thinking about joining this revolution we call crypto. The world is changing, and this year I think we're going to see some very big changes in how we pay for things and how we build wealth as a world. If you're into crypto already, I can't thank you enough for all you have done to help it grow. What we need now is everyone to diversify their portfolios and try crypto as a way to buy things and a way to build wealth. You don't need to go big. A few bucks goes a long way when it comes to crypto. And only invest what you can afford. From the tiny acorn, the mighty oak comes, and just a little bit now can turn into something very big down the line. If you have a business, I ask you to see about ways you can incorporate crypto into your business. Only when mothers can buy a gallon of milk using a digital currency will this be a fully functioning system of finance. And if you're a small business owner, you can help by offering ways to pay with crypto. 2023 is going to see some big changes in the way things work around here. Let's all do our part to make this year a good one. And that's the takeaway.
At the closing of the year.
Well, it's getting close to that time when you kiss your sweetie and swill a glass of champagne. And I don't want to get in the way of your festivities. I just want to be the first to wish you a happy new year and pass on my goodwill for the year ahead. Thank you for listening in, and thank you for subscribing to this show and podcast. This new year, we will be moving into a new studio, partnering up with new sponsors, and I hope reaching 1 million new users of crypto from around the world. But for now, let's get busy ringing in this New Year's Eve, shall we? Be safe, don't drink and drive, and tune in the new year for season 2 of the Crypto Nightly News. Good night, Happy New Year, and God bless.